And we are live. Hi everybody, hi everybody, hi everybody. It's nearly Samhain. Hi everybody, hi everybody. It's nearly Halloween.
Oh, we stopped? Okay.
Well, I was thinking about doing the dreary bit now, because we both noticed how dreary it is. While I ponder a weekend weary, we know that Scotland is super dreary.
Yes, we do.
Yes,
also,
we do.
Coincidentally, Ohio is rather dreary as well today.
So hi to everybody who's with us right now for the Samhain Special Death Priestess with a Ritual live stream. You may have noticed we're in Priestess getup. Or, you might not have. You might not have. You might not have noticed all the paint all over our faces, It is first thing in the morning most places, but I'm telling you, it's definitely there. So hi and a happy Halloween Samhain to everybody. A little bit early, but I'm sure a lot of us are probably doing a little celebrating this weekend.
It's early for CRIS, guys. I think I can take this down now. Good job. I keep my makeup under there. It's important.
Yeah. So just to set the mood, we have some incense. I'm going to have a candle which I haven't lit yet, but I will show you because I found this. Now this is wild berry pumpkin spice incense, and it's burning over here, and it smells gorgeous. It smells just like pumpkin spice. I'm impressed with wild berry incense. That's amazing. And I have my
brand.
This is a Starry-Eyed Supplies silver birch candle, which I'm going to be burning because I associate silver birch with goddess Babe, who I will be doing a little honoring for in a little while for our ritual. And we're going to be doing a little ritual work with you this morning, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Death Priestesses afterwards. I do indeed go out of the house looking like this all the time. That's how CRIS wakes up. That's it.
Actually,
this is us.
Funny story about my face. I actually didn't know what I was going to do. I told Joey last night, I'm like, I'm not going to go big. It's not going to be anything fancy. Hashtag the story of an earth sign every time. And then I went to bed and I slept and I dreamt of this. So now I'm wearing it. Okay. It wasn't the plan.
And I have a mixture of Celtic and Nordic on my face, which is heritage, but there you go. So I have the Arwen on my mouth for the spoken power of the Celtic word, and a rune on my forehead. There we go. So do we want to pull a tarot card first and then do some ritual, or do some ritual first and then pull a tarot card? What do we fancy?
I don't know. Let's ask them.
Would you rather say? Which first? Say ritual or tarot card first, guys. And
let's give them a say in the ritual.
First one to say. First one to say.
I don't know what this is. This is the first one to say it, Dance. Yes.
There we go.
Okay.
Right. I'm going to pull a tarot card for everybody in group as a Halloween special. I have the Halloween Oracle. It's seasonal. It's fitting. I like it a lot more than I thought I would. I freaking love this deck.
I think it was.
That would have been my choice too. So,
Yeah. I was kind of feeling that as well. So
give us a focal point. Yeah.
Yeah. Although I will say that we're probably going to end up pulling one later too. So.
Yeah, of course we will. Start as we mean to go on. And we have the owl.
Ooh, that's been coming up a lot lately.
Wise seeing, wise action. There we go. Hold that up for a little bit for everybody to see. So we have flight and then we have sight, which is amazing as a See what I mean about these cards? They seem simple on the surface, and then you start thinking about it. The flight and the sight, that's action and movement and all-seeing and all-knowing and wisdom and all that good stuff. So there we go.
Yeah.
We are talking about death. And we're just starting off with a tarot card each and setting the mood, and then we're going to do a little live ritual. I'm going to be honoring Bave as a death goddess, and then we will also be talking and honoring ancestors. Are you doing something separate to that, Chris? Do you want to do Bave and then something and then ancestors?
I'm actually good with the ancestor part.
Okay.
So I'm not particularly getting pulled.
Okay.
So I'm going to listen. If something comes up, I'll let you know. Otherwise.
Okay.
So you guys, if you are going to be joining us in this, I welcome you at this time to light any incense, any candles you have, to ground yourself, get centered.
Pull down those Halloween, Samhain energies that are all around. I would normally dance around this point or drum, but I don't have my drum now, and I can't really dance in this from here. I can do this. That kind of works. That kind of works. That kind of works. Right.
Feeding up the energy gently.
Okay.
First time here. Welcome, KB.
Okay. As we stand in the threshold between this world and the next, and we know that all around us is within us, and so without us, we welcome you and hail to the goddess Bave at this hour. Hail to Bave, Phantom Queen. Hail to Bave, Keeper of Soul, of Destiny, of Prophecy. Hail to Bave, the Mother Destroyer. Hail to Bave, the Death Crow, hooded and screeching. Hail to thee of blood and bone. Hail to thee, the Morrigan's own. Hail to thee. I honor thee, Bave, Screamer, Screecher, at this time, with the eyes of Crow upon us, with the claws of Crow around us. I am yours, and you are mine, entwined for all time. We walk a bloodied path. We do not bend. We do not break, unless we are the ocean wave breaking against the shore, or the tree bending in the wind. We come and go through all time. Hail to thee, babe.
That was beautiful.
Whew, and now my eyes are going womp, womp, womp.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to start for something for the ancestors?
Yeah. Would you like me to read the thing I channeled last night? Should I read the thing I channeled last night?
If you're happy to. It was beautiful, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. First, let me link this. I'll bring it forward, actually, so you guys can see. Let's see. You can see it there. Yeah. Okay. As the guardians and caretakers of souls, as the keepers of bone, the menders of wounds, the grave maids, the dirt queens and kings, those who wear crowns of blood and cry tears of ash. We honor your dead and hold space for them now. We honor the mothers, the fathers, the elders, the children, the friends, the family, the ancient ones, the four-legged, the two-legged, the winged ones, those with scales and those with tails. This is in memoriam of our beloved dead. May these candle flames burn on in tribute to the love that we have shared and passion with which we will continue to do so. Our heart can hold many beats, and it will beat for both of us. As we remember you, we remember ourselves. As we will one day face the same fate, we peer through the veil and into truth. You are with me. I am with you. And death is but a hug, patiently waiting to be embraced. So this time, guys, if you have a loved one, they don't have to be blood. They can be furry or human. I'd like you to welcome them. Send love to them. For the rest of this time, we're going to discuss death, and you can't discuss death without also discussing those that you have lost in some way or another.
Mm-hmm. If it's okay with you, before we start that, I'm going to just read from the Warrior in Woad, which kind of invites my ancestors in, which is how I invite my ancestors in with this poem. Okay. So, which is fitting, seeing as I got marks on my face. Okay. So this is the Warrior in Woad, who is the guardian who stands over my ancestors and who I work with. I am her, and she is me, the guardian in woad. A story screams across the void, marked in battle lines. I hear her scream, guttering, the pitch-black chord of night. I am her, and she is me, there is no true divide. I cross the ocean bruised and weary, to speak at fireside. The lightning calls as once it did, the drums of war unfold. I am her, and she is me, the warrior in woad. I don't know about you, my whole body's tingling now. So we're going to be talking about death now, as Chris said. We're going to be talking about death priestessing. And thank you so much for joining us for the ritual part of this. And if you missed the ritual part of it, don't worry, this video, it will be on my channel. And you can, okay, candle, calm down. I'm going to burn myself. Hang on, I'm just moving my candle over there. It's like jumping 3 feet in the air. Okay. And you can watch this back on my channel, so that's not a problem. And to everybody who is watching this later, you can still join in with the bringing your ancestors into that particular part. It doesn't need to be live for you to take part in that or feel the energies of that and so on. So for the rest of this, we're actually just going to be discussing, like we normally would, death priestessing. So do you want to start, Chris? Do you want to say how you see death priestesses, what that means to you?
Yeah, you and I have had conversations about this a lot recently, I think, and what it means to live in that space, kind of. And I think that's a very big part of it that we cannot discuss this without touching on. Often someone who I would term a death priestess, which I guess we'll get into the terminology of each of those separate in a second, would be someone who has kind of lived alongside that energy. Like that, yeah, like that candle. It would be someone who has always had a sort of veneration for it, I think. Hasn't necessarily feared it in the way that a lot have, I think. Understands the death.
That's a good, I like that.
And I think, and we say priestesses because we're both female, but I think there can absolutely be priests. But I think, yeah, exactly, the midwives, the undertakers. Yeah. But they can even be something that isn't traditionally within that role, and they come from that role, if that makes sense. They come from that energy within the role they have.
So it becomes like a spiritual midwife or a spiritual undertaker rather than necessarily a physical, mundane world.
Which they absolutely could be. But, you know, you could be someone who takes care of a plant nursery and you midwife the ill plants, the ones that are dead or claimed on, you know, good for death, back to life. What are you then? It's someone who works with death. I just got kudos for being full on makeup on a Saturday morning.
Where's my kudos? I put makeup on too.
She's full on makeup too. Yeah. I was talking at the time though, that's probably why. But yeah, the carriers of long-term illness. Yeah, those who have known death intimately in one way or another. And I think at certain times that can be many of us that get to know it. But when I say death priestess, I mean someone who has perhaps always seen it as a friend.
Yeah. I think you were like spot on when you were talking about the people that live in that space, because I have trouble with the terminology. Like I know Chris does, and we'll talk to that in a minute. But I have trouble with like the the definitions of defining ourselves in terms of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of have to use words, otherwise we're just like, you know, that thing we do, and it doesn't kind of translate very well onto like connecting with other people and ideas and explaining what we mean. But for me, death precessing is living in that space. And people are like, you can't live in a death space, that's depressing, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, it's not depressing whatsoever.
Yeah.
And for me, like, it's more like the whole up there, like the light side of things is more depressing to me than like in the underworld having a party, Tim Burton style, with all the skeletons glowing and rocking out.
Are you going Corpse Bride right now?
Yeah, I was. I'm referencing Halloween movies the whole way through.
Okay.
And that's beautiful. What Claire Crafty just said. I am looking forward to returning to the soil. I am an earth sign. And I think there's something about the death priestesses who know that we always carry a little bit of death within us anyway. Like we're not separate in the way that a lot of society suggests that we are. We're not completely without death at any given point. We tend to think of death as being a very specific event, which is experienced by us in numerous different ways, that we experience death kind of like around us in our circle as loved ones pass, and eventually we ourselves too will die from this incarnation. But I hope, if anything, that the work of the Shadow Tribe this year has kind of helped discuss and kind of broken down those barriers a little bit to saying, you know, it's not just this very structured, very limited box-like way of thinking about death. And that's really why we've done the Shadow Death Tribe in a lot of ways, because we live there. And spooky, scary skeletons. Spooky, scary skeleton. You completely distracted me from my pull-up bloom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Candle, calm down.
Well,
Candle's like
spooky,
spooky,
part
scary.
of it too. To live in the death space is also to change at the blink of an eye.
It's definitely much more of a shapeshifter energy. I think it's less rigid, and it can
Which
be.
is why we can be deep in the mid, like spooky, scary skeleton. Yeah.
Well, death is not without a sense of humor. That's the other thing.
Oh no.
We've talked about this before, that a lot of people view death as macabre and somber and depressing, and it can be all of those things, but it's not just those things. So I'm hoping that the Shadow Death Tribe and the work that we are going to continue on doing, which we have a revelation later towards the end of the video about where we're going with this work.
That sounds so like biblically epic. A revelation.
We are biblically epic. I don't know what you mean. I am the flood.
Okay. Oh dear.
Yep, I'm high on otherworld energies. Welcome to my space. I swear my relatives are all crazy. I think we all get together in this ancestral energy and we're all like,
yeah. Also, like, can I just interject something really quick?
Sure.
I'm gonna anyway.
You can't stop her.
So, yeah, no, you can't. So, we brought in the ancestors, essentially, but did we really bring them in, first of all, because they're always around us?
No, we didn't. That's true.
So here's the thing. I want to address this because I feel like some people are watching this right now kind of going, and that's it, we just left it. We brought them in, and then, like, we're just going to chill and talk instead of talking to them. And the thing is that we are talking with them right now.
Yeah.
We are with them. We are spending time.
Yes, I was actually going to mention this in a little bit, but we'll do it now.
Oh, okay.
That
I was getting nudged. So.
Yeah. Okay. I'll follow that nudge. I'll follow that nudge. So this is something that Chris and I have talked about before, but I think it's important to reiterate it, sorry, which is that ancestral work is not just for this time of year. It's a all year round kind of magical embracing. And a lot of people do get interested at this time of the year because of the way that we're told that we should worship or we should work with spirits and ancestors. But really, you can work with your ancestors all year round, so you don't have to just start now. But if you have just started now, then, you know, by all means, embrace that and keep it going forward. And often bringing our ancestors in doesn't have to be a huge ritualistic deal, and you don't have to, you know, it doesn't have to be, I do this and I do this and I do this and I offer you this and now we're done. It can, in fact, just be a conversation. It can be bringing your ancestors close for closeness, for connection, for warmth, and it has much more of a familiar feel to me than like keeping it like very ritualistic. I enjoy the ritualistic elements to open up and to close down, just because I think that gives a little structure. But when you're actually in the ritual circle, a lot of it is just kind of like closeness and connection and like having that hand on your shoulder. And the first time I full on called my ancestors down, I had this whole experience of them all putting their hand on my shoulder, and then all the hands spiraled out, like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of them. And it was one of these moments of, oh, I am nowhere near as alone as I thought I was. And that simplistic little moment of ancestry work, which to a lot of people would be like, well, that's not particularly, you know, witchy or ritualistic. But to me, it was like one of those stirring moments that will be with me for the rest of my life. So that is one thing. The other thing is we really feel a bit weird about the idea of the veil being thinner at Samhain.
Yeah.
That is something that gets said, and it's not something that CRIS or I vibe with at all. And
I think that could be a part of the Death Priestess thing. Honestly.
It could be, yeah. Knowing the veil is accessible at all times, I guess. But of course, if popular consensus believes something, self-fulfilling prophecy. So like if lots and lots and lots of people expect there to be more spiritual activity at a particular point in time, then that is going to be the case, because all that energy, all that focus, all that expectation is giving the universe an indicator of what all these people expect to happen. And the best spell work comes about when you expect it, you believe it to the point of madness. So when all these people in the world are like, yeah, there's going to be ghosts, it's going to be Halloween, it's going to be veilless in her, then it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So there is also that.
Yeah. Dragon of the Dawn 40 says the reason death is so frightening in the West is because we separate those who are chronically and terminally ill and all references to death in cozy little hidden places away from the mainstream. But I think that's changing, which is exciting for me. For those of you who don't know, I'm a death midwife, and so I deal with that, and I fight for bringing it out into the mainstream, and you know, I'm very much in the death positive movement, and really, we were not like this all along.
It's recent as well, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite recent on the timeline, like the grand scheme of things, that this has been a thing. I mean, you can look at Victorian stuff and all the mourning jewelry and, you know, how they celebrated with all of that. I mean, it was everywhere. But
I wonder if it's a World War thing, like since the World Wars, because of the graphic deaths that would have not been seen before. I wonder if there's a correlation there.
Well, a lot of people say, and this is what I learned in my courses, is that when embalming was created, it was actually during all the wars. So you have to think, like, when they're pretty far away and you have to bring this body back to its family, their family, then how are you going to keep it well? How are you going to keep it to where they even recognize them? How are they going to be able to bury their dead? Because what used to happen is actually we took care of our own dead. We would bury them, we would have a parlor in the front room so that they could be seen and people could pay their respects. We would bathe them and bless them and lower them in. Or
I will say,
or sky burial, whatever else.
Yeah, I will say though, there has always been business around death. Like we're talking in the chat about money and not humanity. There's always been elements of people who were, you know, paid to deal with aspects of death. There were people in the Middle Ages who were paid to take away plague bodies. There were people, there have always been priests and priestesses of many, many different religions, and they would usually be paid in one form or another. And it's not that there hasn't been a business around death, because I think there pretty much always has been. It's like there is around all the major life events, but I think it's when it becomes something that's dealt with outside outside of ourselves.
Is that when they created things like embalming fluids, they started to say, hey, let us deal with your dead. Let us deal with them. We'll take care of them. You know, you don't want to deal with that smelly stuff. And you got enough troubles already. Let us deal with it. You can pay us and we'll take care of it. And it slowly became this trend. I mean, they would dress up funeral parlors and stage each room very elaborately just so people could see how luxurious their dead would be taken care of. And it turned into, you know, oh, you don't need that. Just let me do it. It was kind of like, and this very clearly says where my bias is when it comes to a lot of funeral parlors and such. Not all of them, I will say. But it kind of became like the fast food of...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I had that very analogy in my head.
Yeah, so, you know, in the process, I think that the bodies became not our loved ones and a body.
Yeah.
We were able to to overly sanitize and desensitize ourselves. But suddenly now this is not a person, but it was that person's temple for how long? You know?
Yeah.
It was the hands that we held.
And I will say that us discussing this and any action that people take, and whether it just be discussing it, finding out more about it, this is all death priestess work.
Yeah.
And, you know, so if people are like, okay, so what is a death priestess and what does a death priestess do? This is an example of something that death priestesses do. They kind of try and speak and show the world that death isn't this evil thing. And discuss it and celebrate it in art, in word, in deed, and things like that. So this is kind of like the living part of being a death priestess.
Yeah, and exactly a merry morning, affluence and wealth, to not have to do it yourself. Pretty much. Yeah. So what has happened as a result too is it's also affected, someone said, well, we live as if we'll never die, and we die having never lived, that quote that goes around a lot. And that's kind of what happened. When we don't have death in the mainstream where we actually are addressing it, instead we go, oh, you know, I'm so sorry to hear. You're sorry to hear. So you're sorry that I told you that I had a death in the family, you know? And the thing is I don't think it's meant that way, but
it's
the
just
words
become
that we
way,
use,
yeah.
You know, it's been automatic. And so, you know, you got to think about that. Like, oh, I'm sorry that you told me that you had a death there, instead of, you know, or even, you know, I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah. But did we lose them? We lost them in one way, in one form. But like automatically there's this ending shut off, which we talk about in something that we'll talk about later.
I know, I'm like that the whole way through, like, no, we can't mention that yet.
Not yet. Okay. But yes, I know who Caitlin Doughty is. questionable goat. I highly recommend her to anyone. Ask a mortician. She's another person who is death positive. She would be someone I would call a death priestess personally.
Yeah, absolutely.
But basically, I think that what is a good way to respond? Oh, well, how can I help?
I'm here for you.
And that, yeah, I'm here for you. Would you like some company? Because a lot of times, especially when it first happens, there are people all around, and then after, say, the funeral is done, people leave and then they're left in this empty house. And so for me, when I was going through things too, personally, I would rather have been like, hey, would you like some company? And not have to talk even, just sit with me. Just sit with me, because in that moment I feel alone. I don't need a conversation. I just need someone with me.
Absolutely. We do have a strange way of reacting to death and loss and grief. And for me, I was never afraid of death. Like Chris mentioned this earlier, and it was never something that frightened me. And I was like, but they're not really gone. Like, and that as a child was my response, like, they're not really gone. So I don't understand. Oh, excuse me. And sometimes we kind of learn these responses from other people. Like, I think a lot of us as kids are a little bit more open to the idea that, they're not really gone and that the spirits remain with us. And that's why a lot of kids see spirits and then they're sort of taught not to. Like, this is, stop that, blah, blah, blah. And I think we kind of get indoctrinated almost in a way to how we respond to death. Like, this is the correct way to mourn. This is the correct way to have a funeral. This is the correct way to address somebody who has lost someone. To the point where it all becomes like reflex. Like the saying, sorry for your loss becomes absolutely. A reflex.
I have to catch myself.
Oh,
because
me too.
I will still want to say it. And then it's like, nope, that's not the right words. That's not what you actually mean.
Yeah. Because the pitying thing doesn't really ever help anyone. So, I mean, what's that going to do? Like, oh, you're in pain, and on top of that, I'm pitying you. That's like,
Yeah. And when I say, how can I help? I mean that quite literally. Like, how can I help? Would you like me to pick your kids up from school? Are you really tired today and just, from dealing with everything? Do you want me to run you some soup? Do you want me to run you, I'll pick you up something. I'll cook you something. Can I help you clean your house? Can I help with a part of the funeral? Can I, do you want me to direct people for you so you don't have to, deal with all of that? What would you like? Do you need help cleaning out and going through things? Or do you want somebody to just sit with you and watch TV maybe?
Yeah. Sometimes it's just that. Sometimes it's more about the physical presence, than anything else. So do we want to have a look at the words, the etymology of death and priestess? Do we want to do that? Because I know that we were discussing priestess yesterday. I think it was. Was it yesterday we were talking about priestess and what that means?
Before, but they blur together with us. Yeah, so priestess, when you trace it back, basically means elder.
So priestess pretty much means ancestors, yeah.
Yeah, right. And I find it interesting because the word has taken on this
authority.
Authoritative. Almost to the extent of like untouchable. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I was going with it. Is this this untouchable spot that none of us are ever worthy of, kind of thing. And I think that in our own right, we all have that. So when I was priestess in my family's traditions, I was basically joined with the matriarchs, which means that, and obviously I'm already joined with my matriarchs in my family because they're my ancestors, but it was more of an official kind of handing of the torch over to say, look, you speak for us now. officially.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are one of the women. You speak for us. You are Crow woman. So you
Mm-hmm.
will. That's my family's phrase. So you know, you are our voice. So speak wise
Mm-hmm.
words.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a level of responsibility in that, but there's also a level of honor and gratitude that comes with it. And I think that each of us, in a way, are that. And not just for the women, obviously. I mean, that was very, we are very matriarch-centered. But in general, we all are for our ancestors. And I think that there's something absolutely beautiful in that. And I think that, unfortunately, when death gets shoved out of the foreground, we lose that. At least to us, you know what I mean? Like, it's never truly lost, but we consciously lose it.
So for me, coming to what one might term as priestessing was completely different. So I don't have relatives who practice in any shape or form, and to be honest, I don't really have relatives because I'm completely disconnected from everybody apart from my sister. So for me, priestessing became much more of a carving out of what a priestess meant on a very personal level, and feeling my way through the world and carving out a definition, carving out what death priestessing and priestessing in general meant to me. And it's a sad note that there is this kind of witch war thing that goes on, which is about what constitutes a real witch, real priestess, real whatever. Like, you have to have pieces of paper, you have to have been studying for X years, you have to have been doing this, that, and the other. And it becomes something box-like. It becomes unpleasant for the most part, that you know, you're not a priestess because, and I don't feel personally that any experience is any less valid. Like, CRIS and I resonate around the same ideas. We have the same viewpoints and on a lot of things, but she came to the path in a completely different way than I did. But that doesn't make an inch of difference. It's just how the journey took us. And it's just one of those, it's just the path we walk. And it doesn't make one path right and one path wrong. And that's very true with regards to death as well. Excuse me, incense is like, oh, right up in the lungs. There's no one way to celebrate. There's no one way to mourn. There's no one death that happens to us all. So
yeah, and we don't know how or when it will come. Even we think we do.
Well, we live as if we're invincible.
But we also, like, we think, okay, if I take the best care and I'm super careful, like, then I will live forever. But no, you can walk out on the street one day and a waiver car just hits you.
I'll tell you the story of my nana and her sister.
I won't say that degrades necessarily, like there's something to be said for quality of life, guys. I'm not saying, like, go smoke like a chimney and eat burgers all day, unless that's what you want. But, like, it's just kind of, we act as if we can, like, predict this. Yeah, okay, yeah, kind of Darren.
He's a burger and smokes kind of guy. So my nana is still alive, and she's in her 90s now, I think. And she's always smoked very heavily. She's always drank, and, you know, all of that. And then her sister died in her early 50s, and she'd never smoked and never drank and went to church every Sunday and was very careful about everything. And so there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees with life and death. It's just one of those events. And to me, death isn't final anyway in the way that we see it. It's just another door. So
well, not only that, but there are many kinds of deaths, which Joey and I talk about a lot. It doesn't necessarily even have to mean the physical death of a person, like the body remaining and the spirit passing. It can also mean the death of a life you once knew, the death of yourself as ego, like an ego death, the you that you knew, the relationship that you knew. You can mourn all kinds of things. All kinds of things can die. I think death is more than just that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
death cycles.
Yeah. I want to hit on something that Mary said. Mary Morning says, the one comment I remember after my mother's death was one lady said, "Oh, you seem like you're not even sad." But I had been putting on a false face to face the public. She destroyed that. Spiraled me into depression. I was only 20 when my mother died. Yeah. So one of the things that personally gets me worked up is when someone tells you how you should be mourning. Every person mourns entirely differently. Some people get really pissed off. Some people get really sad. Some people go into this like jubilance phase because they're trying to get everything done and they're trying to be strong for the family and da-da-da. Some people get really like task oriented, and some people cycle through all of these at all different times, maybe within like 5 minutes. And telling someone, "Oh, you don't seem like you care." At
the best of times.
Right to the heart. Yeah. But everyone mourns differently. Every person is different, and the thing is that when someone dies, there is also a need to like blame there too that I've talked about, whether it's someone else or it's ourselves or maybe it's the loved one that passed. There's a need to like make this, this an equation that we can figure out. And
control. It's all about control.
To try and find like a footing there, that they can work from. And it just happens. And I think that's why, a lot of families will fight or people will break up as a cause of it or, that kind of thing. But also in the same form, it can bring people together. It just depends. But, I just kind of want to bring awareness to what happened in Mary and say like, first of all, I want to be kosher, but I'm really like, fuck that. But just, everyone, when you're talking to someone who is mourning, be really careful with your words. It's more about heart space. It's more about being with them in that way, because there are no words that can fix this.
And you don't
it's not
need
about
to fix
fixing.
it. Yeah.
It's not about fixing.
Would you recommend seeking contact with death energy to someone who's never knowingly encountered it before? And if so, what would be a good way to connect with it? So I think the key point there is never knowingly encountered it, because I think we all have encountered it. It's not as separate as we think it is. To me,
took my answer.
I am in your mind. That's brain juice for anyone wondering. Anyway, that noise right there. And we talk about a lot of different ways in which we feel that death is with us. So we talked already about the fact that death is not just necessarily the death of the physical incarnation that we're in right now. And there are many little deaths along the way, and I've been calling them death cycles for a few years now, that we all go through life cycles and death cycles just the same way nature does, that we live in kind of like cyclic experiences. And sometimes these death cycles are the inverted commas ending of one stage into another. Now, nothing in my mind ever truly ends. We always carry parts of it with us. And this is something that the goddess Babe said to me, that we are the memories that we carry with us, that we always carry a piece of those within ourselves. And so we carry death within us in our memories, whether we realize it or not. Because if you believe in past lives, which I do, then you've carried a little piece of death forward into this life with you, because it's possible to reclaim past life memory. It's something that a lot of people go for and go into, you know, meditative state, or go for help and assistance in realizing past lives and the cycles of things. So if that's true, we've died in incarnate times many times before. We've pushed through moments of death into this life. And Chris and I discussed in one of our chats, which I thought was really interesting, is whether or not like parts of our death echoed forward into our birth. Like the way, is it possible that the way we died affected the way in which we were born? So like being upside down, or being a breech birth, or having something around our neck, that sort of thing, in terms of birth. Is it possible that's an echo from the death of a previous life? That was something that fascinates me as a concept, as a thought. And of course, the thing with death is that we can never truly know, because we don't remember. So we only have near-death experience accounts. We only have sort of belief. We only have structure and tradition. And these are all things that we kind of glean from, and kind of like intuitiveness as well. So again, death being unknowable, it makes many of these things, it's very difficult to sort of pin down and talk about, because ultimately the thing about death is that none of us really know. It is the great unknowable, and there's elements to it. And working with death energies, death goddesses and gods, and they too are unknowable in their own way. So it reflects that, and I always found that fascinating as a death priestess, or whatever you want to term it. I find that element of mystery kind of comforting in a way. Like, it reminds us of our human nature. It reminds us of our frailty and our limitations, but it also reminds us to keep seeking, to keep journeying. Like, there is more that we can learn. There is more that we can discover. There is still that excitement in these elements, because we don't have all the answers. It's not finite, it's expansive.
Absolutely. Let me check. So
do we honor death?
Yeah, I see that. Do we honor death, the death of our food, etc.? I think there could be something healthy in doing it.
In honoring the death of your food?
Yeah, honoring the death of many things. It's like what we talked about on that thing that I can't mention.
Yeah. We're nearly there. We're nearly in the last half an hour.
Almost, guys. Sorry. I keep running into it.
Well, is it an African or is it a native tradition about honoring the death of a kill when you hunt?
The African might as well. I know it's native though, for sure. But there's something to you use every piece of it as well, because oh, I love that about the native tradition. Yeah, no waste. Yeah, it's dishonorable to do otherwise. Yep. I'm not scared of death or of grief. Scared of the emotion. Well, grief can be a pit, that's for sure. Yeah. Oh, also, there's a common misconception that it just ends and like you're done now. But it doesn't. Like Shadow Work. Yeah. It's something that my teacher once said, that hole in your heart, and the hole never mends. The muscles around it just get stronger. Yeah, that's a beautiful analogy. I thought so too. But I will also say, going through my father's death entirely changed me. And I will say that as hard as it was, because I also went through depression, there were days that I did not eat. I just slept like constantly, in my uniform even. I wasn't showering. I wasn't contacting anyone. I wasn't talking to anyone. I wasn't, I had no want to do anything, including breathe. And ended up giving myself pneumonia because of it. But going through all of that, going through that sort of death phase, made me who I am now. It it took someone who already was someone who sympathized with death and with the dark goddesses and with the ancestors. I mean, I have poems from when I was like 13 and I was writing about like misunderstood ghosts and how like nobody ever thinks of them and the pain they're going through. Now I do this. Now I'm a intuitive spiritual mentor, and I help people with transition and in all those forms of death. And I am a death midwife. I wouldn't take that back.
No.
I mean, all the dreams that my dad gave me and my journey, I wouldn't. It was hard, and I would totally dread doing it again. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be like, yeah, let's just saunter into grief. It's difficult, but I like who I am now more, honestly. Yeah. I think I lived my life to a fuller capacity because of it.
Absolutely. I'm going to put another incense stick on. I will say that growing up, I was always fascinated with the history of like graveyards and things.
Oh, yeah.
I'd always go see the dates. And
I'm going to change this because I got lines happening here. And that's not the makeup that I put on my face, okay?
And
oh, now I'm super goth. Hi, guys.
Super goth. Her alternate ego. Superhero. And that kind of tied into the idea of the forgotten dead, which became part of my ritual. Like all the fascination of all these lives which were led, and there's not anybody maybe celebrating them anymore, and there's not as many people going to the grave sites and tending them anymore. And graveyard tending became an exploration, became something as part of like a death priestess. I'm very uncomfortable with the terminology, but the death as a part of the, all I can see is your light changing as you change it, like no, 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 no. And graveyards and that noise, graveyards became part of this ritualistic element for me that just became synonymous with death. It just became almost, it was peaceful and honorific and ritualistic in visiting those places. And they've always felt that way to me. And Chris and I discussed this about how graveyards are more for the living than they are for the dead. And we've touched on that at times. But for me, walking through there, there's something like a moment in time where people honor the dead. And you okay over there?
I'm trying not to sing Give Me One Moment in Time.
Oh, do it. Do it. Go for it.
Give me one moment in time. Yes.
Yep, that's
nobody else. Nobody else.
So, like the graveyard thing, and how we're all very drawn to them as witches, and other denominations of pagan practice, is interesting to me because it's like something that a lot of us have in common, that we're very drawn to these places, and we understand the magic in, say, graveyard dirt and things of that nature. So that kind of the magic in graveyards is a really fascinating element to me, and it really does connect us all. And I feel like graveyards are very much like crossroads, are one of those symbolic places which kind of connect to the human psyche in a way, kind of make us think about these ancestral ties that we have, and so on.
Graveyards for me, they definitely pull up all those thoughts, but sometimes with graveyards I can like hear, depending on where it is, like I grew up in Virginia, so there's a lot of like battlefields and stuff, and for me I can like hear the cannons firing and stuff like that. I can hear just the sounds of life.
Echoes.
Yeah, but more than anything, I honestly feel the keepers at graveyards. You and I have talked about this. I feel like the elementals and those that hold sacred space there. But yeah, they can be very grounding. I agree. I love them. I used to be fascinated. As a little kid, I grew up in a multi-religious household, and my father's side was Southern Baptist. And they had this big graveyard, and I would always be out in the graveyard. Always. Like, all the kids would be playing in the recess area, and I would be out wandering the tombstones, being like, who's this? Who's that? Whose grandmama's this? You know, asking about them, especially the ones that were along the tree line that were really old, so like you couldn't see names on them anymore, or maybe they were toppling from the ground, shifting, and I was fascinated by them. I wanted to know who they were, what kind of lives they lived.
Oh, shivers. Shivers.
Graveyards are tiny whiny. Claire Crafty. Has anyone over the last couple of weeks found themselves drifting off into trance and half trance intermittently? Yes, a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
And seeing things out the corner of your eye all the time as well. Like, what? What are we doing now? What's going on?
Son.
So we're approaching the 30-minute mark. So if anybody wants to ask any questions, now is the time. Is there anything you wanted to ask about this topic that we have not touched on yet?
Now I'm blinded by sun. I'm going to try and read comments here.
Travel Witch, I was in Vegas and had towels drop down for no reason. Yeah, but you go hunting ghosts, lady. It's no surprise they come looking for you. Like, hi! Throw a towel at you. Like, film me, Jen.
Yeah, we have a beautiful one. We have a lot of beautiful cemeteries here, but I hate you, son.
Death midwife. I hate you, son.
Yeah. There. You know what? I don't need your son at all. How about that?
True goth.
I don't need your son at all. Just gonna pull this up. There we go. I don't need your son. I've got exposure and gain.
How has working with death made you a better person?
Yeah. More considerate, except for a son.
It's made me less loving of the son.
No, that's just me.
No, I'm with you.
It's made me, well, here's a good one. Before going through all of this, I wasn't really comfortable with emotions. I would have said I was. I would have been like, yeah, totally, I can do that. Psh, emotions, got it. But I also was totally the walk it off kind of person.
Yeah.
And this, and going through it, and like not being able to walk it off, like you walk it off and it goes with you because it's you. You can't walk yourself off. Okay? I mean, like you could, but that's exercise and that's something different. Okay. So I derail. I think that's a big one for me, is that it's made me more free with my emotions. I won't say that I didn't have them, because I did, but it's made me able to be more vulnerable and know that that I'm enduring in that. That doesn't make me weak. That doesn't make me susceptible in some ways.
In my head now. My head deep Mountain high. Whoa, 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 whoa. Sorry, I just had that going through my head as you were talking.
Yeah. No, but I like Claire Crafty said, so with you, Chris, keep the wall up so no one can hurt me. Exactly, that was me. Keep those walls high, keep that fortress going, and be like, yeah, no, I'm fine, it's cool. Yeah. Well, what happens when you're flooding your fortress inside and you're drowning and everybody's like, are you okay there? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. And like, you're drowning. No, you have to let your gates open. You have to let the flood out. And it can be terrifying because you're like, but what if they get in? But
yeah,
actually what happens is if they do get in, you find out what kind of people they are, and you find out if they can hold space with you.
Yeah.
Which goes to the whole, the thing that you say is, what can I do for you? Would you like some company?
It's definitely brought me connections to people, like deep, heartfelt connections to people. And this isn't so much through like working in terms of grief energies, but just working in general with death energies. Because I live in a kind of a death space, a more organic space, the relationships with certain people that it's brought to me have been the most real of my life. Like people who really work with death energies, and people even who have been through it, they get back on just saying how things are, like being honest about things. They drop pretense, and those that work within the death space know that there isn't much point in clinging to a pretense of who we pretend we are. And
Kellyanne's got a good one.
Oh, Kellyanne's in the chat. Oh my God.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi. Hi.
I love your face.
Hi.
Also, you guys, if you don't know about her, which I don't know why you don't know who she is, quite frankly. If you don't, you should all go and check out
priestess. She's a total death priestess.
She's totally a death priestess.
And we look up to her like this.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, but no, she had a really good question. She said, what do you think about the idea that some people may wear the themes of imagery of death in an egoic way to seem more legit or to instill fear in others, but they're not really learning from it?
Oh, I've got skulls on me today. Have you got skulls on me today?
But I don't think she means that. She doesn't mean if you're wearing skulls. She means if you're not taking from that.
Wearing it like a fashion label rather than wearing it to... Yeah. Well, I've actually been talking about this a little bit lately, which is wearing things like a fashion label. And the sad fact of it is, as far as I'm concerned, is that it happens that people are so desperate to define who they are as an individual. This is tying into stuff that we're going to announce in a bit. Did you? Yeah, I know. And the people are so desperate to be like, this is who I am, that they take things to make the world think this is who they are, and they kind of veer into, like, I don't know, like taking things which they don't really resonate with because that's going to be more likable and more popular and etc. And we have to be super, super careful though, because this then feeds into the argument of people being like, you're not a real witch or whatever, because you don't wear this or because you do wear that. And honestly, like the physical things that people wear aren't indicative of the behavior and the authenticity really of the individual underneath. Like I grew up not being gothic, like as gothic as I am now, but I always kind of wanted to be. But I like my sister was super goth. She had these gorgeous dreads with the wool in. She had the full Victoriana dresses and everything. And I always loved it and didn't have like the stones to do it. So now I'm in the point in life where I'm like, I don't care. I wear what I want. So, you know, there's that. But yeah, there is definitely that possibility of pitfall, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, I think really it goes down to authenticity in a lot of ways. But also, I mean, it's a tricky question because we can't really say what is authentic to them either. We can have our guesses, we can draw our conclusions, but we can't really say for them. So it's a sticky area for me. I mean, I saw your recent video, Kellyanne, where you talked about hell a little bit, and the new movie coming out, and how, you know, like the appearance of that can be really difficult for people who are looking for hell, the goddess, as in to worship, and not necessarily as in a pop culture reference. And where I am for them merging and stuff, I do see what you mean about the image of something becoming the all of it when it hits kind of a sort of mainstream or something that becomes a stereotype. And I think that's kind of what we're dealing with when other people are doing that too, where they're, you know, oh, I'm going to dress in all skulls and, you know, be so goth. And then, and, you know, it's maybe not something that they're taking into themselves or that they feel inside, but something that makes them feel like they belong somewhere instead. And honestly, I think it's frustrating, but it's also kind of sad because you'll never know where you do. But it's also part of the journey, isn't it? Like trying different things, rubbing up against stuff in a bad way or a good way to figure out where you go.
Yeah, I mean, when I was coming into...
It's a sticky subject.
Yeah, I mean, when I was coming into witchcraft and whatnot, there was The Craft, and The Craft was big as a movie, and I really, really vibed with it. And like now people are like, oh my God, the people, you know, they came in because of the movies and stuff. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think it depends where you take it. Like if there's like something tickles your funny bone in a way and you're like, this resonates with me somehow, so I must figure out why, and then I'm going to go deeper, and then I'm going to find out the reality. And I think there's a difference with the film stuff between thinking that everything is going to be like it is in the movies versus how it turns out to be in practice. And I think the people expecting it to be in like it is in the movies will be weeded out pretty quickly, because it's not. Also,
she came in and clarified too, of course, that she didn't mean just like imagery clothing, but the themes too, like people saying they work with death, having death deities, etc. Yeah,
that's
right?
a whole other subject.
Girl, okay.
We know that feel.
Ooh, yeah, I know those feels. Yeah. I think it can be really frustrating because, you know, when something is so personal to you, you really...
It matters.
Yeah, it matters a lot, and you want to give it the utmost respect and honor that you can, and then like you'll see other people maybe not giving it what you feel like is the honor it belongs, and it can be really difficult. Really difficult.
It is, yeah. It does feel awful when people are basically capitalizing on something that means something to your soul.
Yeah.
Because to a lot of us, when something means something at a soul level, it's like, okay, I can go out and I can talk about this. And most of us have been like, should I talk about it? And like, we build up to the point where we go and we talk about these things. And it's a very big deal for a lot of us to share this, because spiritually speaking, it's intimate. It's very intimate. It's a very intimate thing to share spirituality, ritual, belief, personal experiences that have led us to this point. And then if you see people who are like capitalizing on the image of that, and there's no substance, and it's usually quite easy to spot because they say things on the surface, but then when you question it, there's nothing underneath, or it never gets any deeper. It's always the same thing. It never like evolves. Again, we have to be careful with the value judgment of other people's practices and whatnot, because we only see the limited amount that we see. But the kind of like that, this makes me feel uncomfortable feeling.
And honestly, what I tend to do is I tend to avoid those people.
Oh yeah.
If you're gonna be really honest, I tend to just avoid those people. Because I mean, I know that to an extent it's my own stuff, but also like I can't really judge from theirs. So it's this I don't know. It's this weird limbo that I'm always in, and I'm just like caught hoping that it's given the respect, whatever it is, that it deserves. But
Okay.
ultimately, like, I can't answer for them. You know?
Well, we can't.
So like,
no.
I'm kind of like out with this. Like, all right, well, I guess it is what it is. I don't like it, so something else that I like more, I guess.
And there's something to be learned from those situations, though. Like when somebody triggers us in a way like that, and it makes us go, "Argh!" Why is it making us feel like that? Like, why does that bother us? And it may or may not be something we need to deal with internally, but it might also be
also
like,
be
I need to take us.
It could also be something that we're picking up in the ecosystem of things.
And we need to stand up against it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are you now like just like defining my thoughts for me as we're talking? Is that where we're at? Like,
Maybe.
I have my...
We jump on each other all the time. Whatever. Oh wait, that's a whole different.
That's
a different.
Yeah, I was gonna say whole different story. Okay.
But no, I think it can be really frustrating, especially around this time of year, Kellyanne. Like, because every time, every year, this whole time.
Can we ask more about death from the non-body death perspective when you mentioned ego death? Thoughts on death precessing in that sense from Arwen Star?
Yeah. So I talked a little bit about like deaths that you might have in your life. It could be relationships. It could be moving to a new town, new house. Maybe how you lived your life has abruptly changed for whatever reason. But also who you are. It changes. And there's a process of yourself with that. Just how we relearn how to live life when a loved one passes. And I think that a lot of people don't look at that as a death, but I very much feel it is.
We do. We have videos all about it.
I mean, it's transition. It's being in the liminal, the medial, and it's difficult because in those times, that's when people look the most for like stability. I think, or tend to.
And the another part of that is working with death gods and goddesses. So working with death goddesses and death gods and goddesses, and working with that spirit, that god, that deity, that can affect and influence our lives in many different ways and bring about those changes in some cases that we're needing. Because when we talk about working with death goddesses, they tend to look at decay within our own lives and things that are decaying and putrefying, and we need to allow that process to happen so that it can boil down into the nourishment for personal growth. And a lot of us as human beings are very resistant to change. I know I am. Earth sign does not like change. And sometimes working with death gods and death energies is about creating change within our lives, because ultimately I feel like death is transition rather than finality. It's like a shape-shifting, a transitional period between something and the next. It's not
when I got the tattoo on the back of my neck, it's Hagalaz and Isa, and Hagalaz is a sort of necessary change, something that has to be break down. I guess you could call it the tower card in a lot of ways. Isa is ice, and kind of the thought was freezing that into place. So it was a sort of statement. It was a dedication to Hel, obviously, like dedicating my body to her. But it was also sort of a statement that I am in constant change, and this is who I am. And I think that says a lot for that sort of vibe that you're talking about. That you talking about.
What that talking about? Talking about.
So much energy. Dragon of the Dawn 40 says, we can only hold so much energy in our sphere. We have to release the old so new can flow in. If we don't allow the energies to flow, then we become stagnant. That's awesome. Kellyanne says she's planning on a Hogwarts hat. Can't wait. Yes!
Awesome.
It's
I'm
such
getting
a
this on
great
my forehead.
rune. I'm sorry. Can I gush for a second? It's such a great rune.
Oh.
It's my favorite.
I wonder if I've got it right here. There's runes on my desk. Hang on.
I have. Wait, you might be able to see it if I stand up on my. Yep, there we go. Okay, guys. So, up here, this is the rune that's on the back of my neck. It's the binding rune that I have.
That's the Hellbind rune. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I don't have it on here. I wonder where it is. Anyway.
But that's awesome, Kellyanne.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm excited for you.
I need a tattoo at some point. I need like my first one ever. So Melanie says, I feel like I'm constantly going through destruction and regrowth too. I think that's very true for many of us. I was talking earlier about living in a cyclic existence, that we're constantly going through these cycles. And destruction and regrowth aren't necessarily separate. Like they can be happening at the same time. You know.
Well, there's a theory that every year is kind of a death and rebirth for us.
Yeah.
Every birthday, we are reborn in a lot of ways. So
I can see
and when you take also like the wheel of the year season change and all that, I could see it as well backed up. So, you know, in some ways,
yeah.
And we have lived more deaths than we thought.
Well, my eyes in this instant. Look at this candle. Have you seen this? This candle's going crazy. Can you see this?
Yeah, actually, when it was setting, I think I could like just see the tip of the flame.
It's like this.
Yeah. So, do you want to
announce?
Yeah. Do you want to announce?
Announce.
That I promise that's not the announcement, guys.
It is. It's total. It's total. Total announcement. Okay, so
don't burn down your house. Kellyanne's like, announce!
Announcements! Well, you guys, you know how...
You're just going to say well after that? Like, well,
no,
you know.
Oh my God, let me lead into it. Breathe. I'm trying my best.
Okay.
The Capricorn's
my arms are folded. Carry on.
So, guys, you know how Monday is Halloween? It's Samhain.
Oh, really?
It is. Yeah. You might not have noticed. I'm just reminding you.
Okay. I totally forgot. Thank you, though.
Yeah. And it's a witch's new year.
Oh, really?
A brand new beginning, guys. A brand new
new
beginning.
year, is it?
Yeah. We're all on board. Good. Well, Chris and I feel that you need a little more flux in your lives.
A
little more Chris, a little more me.
Just a little bit. Un poquito. Yeah.
A little more.
A little bit.
What the flux?
Yeah. A little more
Starting on Monday, What the Flux podcast is going to be accessible. It's going to be live. We're going to be launching the podcast, What the Flux, and we are so excited about the elements of this podcast. It's so good. And the first episode of every month is free. So you can listen to the first episode of the podcast for the month, absolutely free to see if it's your bag.
Free to the public. I'm gonna start saying bag more now. Between like watching Kellyanne and talking to you, it's gonna be a thing that I say.
It's my bag, baby.
Yeah, but so it's gonna be oh my gosh, you guys, the journey.
The journey, guys.
Can we please tell them about the journey now? So we have been holding back so much not saying this part. Like, you guys have no idea. I'm splitting at the seams. Like, this isn't weight that I put on.
Yeah.
This is me not talking about
this is Skull coming forward, like, tell them the truth.
So, okay, so there's 4 episodes, 1 each week, and the first one always going to be available and out there, so you guys can like get a preview of what the topic's going to be and everything. But then 2 through 4 is private, and it is something that will go deeper into depth on the second one, and the 4th one is a Justin made by Joey and I. All set up. The entire episode of it is the journey, so it's a long journey, guys. And oh my god, I'm so pumped. I can't even, I'm like
yeah, basically
so
the third episode of every single podcast is going to be us taking you guys on a journey with us. And we mean that it's a meditative experience. It's fairly interactive in its way. The whole thing is going to be interactive. It's all going to have its own group. We're going to be discussing more in group. There's going to be benefits of being in the group. And that's for people who are on board with the podcast. And the journey, though, guys, seriously, we've sat out and we've written out the first journey. And we are excited.
When, like, as you're writing it, you're like, can we just get this done? Because I want to do this.
Yeah.
I need to do this too.
Yeah. You know, it's good when you get to the point that Joey is dreaming, and that's how the journey is supposed to be. So the deity's like, get this into the journey. And I'm like, okay.
So, and then the fourth episode is going to be, frequently asked questions afterwards. So you guys will be able to ask the stuff and we'll work that in. It's going to be outtakes because you know us, you watch us enough to know that there will be some outtakes.
Some of the outtakes already for this month are going to be insane.
Yeah, and then any bonus content that didn't kind of fit fully into all of the episodes we will be putting in there as well. Yeah. And there's going to be, like Joey said in the group, threads and stuff afterwards where, like, you'll be able to tell us, like, what your experience was on the journey and talk about different keywords that we talked about on the monthly topic and building playlists and things like that that are crafted around whatever the topic is, and reading lists and things like that.
It's highly interactive. It's highly, that's the key point, is that we really wanted to do a podcast. We really wanted to do the podcast the way that we do things, which is different than most people.
Silly, but
we really wanted, we really wanted that community. Like, we wanted there to be a group. We wanted you to interact with us. It's going to have private lives in that group, so you can come talk to me and Chris on a personal level. It's going to be a safe space. We're going to, like, earth sign it up and make sure it is a safe space for people who are talking about these issues, because some of them might be a little more personal. So it's going to be exciting. It really is.
And for people asking where, it will be on SoundCloud. It'll be hosted by SoundCloud. There is a Facebook group for it, or a Facebook page for it right now. You can look it up, What the Flux Podcast. And everything will be launching and opening for membership and everything on the 31st. Okay, so we're letting you know as, like, a heads up, like, hey, this is coming, it's gonna happen soon. And we're pumped. And should we tell them what the topic of the first month is?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so the first month we said that we should start out with something that we talk about a lot, guys. And that is otherworld roots and flux thinking and feeling. And
basically, what's the flux?
Yeah. What is the flux? What the flux?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Indeed. So that's what's going on, guys.
Do you want to mention that there's a special price for the first month?
Yeah, sure. We can do that. So for the first month, it's going to be in American, guys, because I'm American. So the first price will be $20 USD. For all of it, you get access to the group and everything. Obviously, the first episode is still going to be there. It's available to everyone. But then you also will get access to the others, and all of them will be downloadable for the members. What the Flux, is it linked at your blogs? Not yet. We have not linked everything up like that yet. It's still like we have SoundCloud and we have the Facebook page because nothing has been like officially put out yet so that people can purchase.
I will make what we will do is once after we've announced, we will make a little video for both mine and Chris's channel, and we will put all the links down below. So anyone who's not on Facebook can see the links through that. So it'll just be like, if you want to, you can go here.
Yeah, we can do that. But yeah, so that's what we've been working on, guys. A lot.
Oh, yes. And the price will change after the first month. So the $20 is for the first month, and then it goes up to $30. Following that,
it's a reoccurring thing. So Kellyanne, I can see the Fry image. Do you guys have Futurama there?
Yeah.
You know Futurama? Yeah. So like the meme, like take my money.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would be pumped to have you there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'd be pumped to have all of you there. Like, we want something that's a community, that's interactive, that people can share and feel safe, especially with the kind of topics that we tend to talk about. And Kellyanne, you know too, because you have that kind of thing too. Things that are, deeper and more sensitive, like we want to give that the honor that it deserves.
Yep. Joey and Chris, are you doing any special rituals for Samhain? Oh, that's another point. We're going to hold each month. We're going to have like a little fluxy ritual in the group.
I should just bring up the paper.
We're going to have, because we're going to have a little fluxy ritual in the What the Flux group. And we want it to be interactive. We want to create a community around this concept because it's something that really excites me. It's something that really excites Chris, and like getting a community going around this and all interconnecting, being the ecosystem, guys, is something that we really, really want to do. And we've been working like round the clock, and we've had to rein it in because Chris and I have 8 million ideas, and we're like, no, we must rein it in a little bit. It
was a problem. Okay, so see, this is like chronic earth sign thing. At least I think it's earth signs. If it's other people, let me know, guys. Let me know if you're like this, if you relate. So, do you know these feels?
Yeah.
I will be like, yes, let's do this thing. Ooh, but you know what? Let's make it better with this. Ooh, but you know what? Let's make it better with this. Ooh, but you know what? Let's make it better.
We could do this too.
Ooh, and then we added an interactive aspect. And we could use smell. And we could use sight. Oh, but let's make it audible. And it just gets, and then you're like, crazy. Oh my God, I'm spending 5 hours on this when it was like to blink my eyes. That was should not have been this involved. But it's because you want to you get so excited and you want to make it so good that you just keep adding. And so finally we got to a point where we were like, look, reel it in. We need to streamline. We need to streamline.
Breathe.
So some of the things I have in front of me, I'm going to read really quick. So there will be polls. So you'll be able to tell us some of the things you want us to talk about in the coming months in the groups, and questionnaires. There will be private readings and live streams and rituals. I'm getting to that.
I will be, and Chris will be pulling a tarot card for the month for everybody, and we will basically center it around this is the energy of this flux, so this card then relating to that flux rather than it just being and then so we'll be working with keywords and things out of the podcast that we're doing that month, and then we will also be doing let's see here, a 6-month bonus. So basically, if you're someone who has been with us for 6 months, then Joey and I both will do a dual channeling session with you. Both of us at the same time. Yeah.
For you. Yes, for you. And then there's other goodies too. You guys, we haven't even told them about the ghosties.
Oh my God. So we can announce the ghosties now because, oh my God, they're the best bit. And there will be pins. I am telling you, if it kills me, I will find a way to make the ghosties into pins.
Yeah.
The ghosties are our mascots.
Yeah, they're basically our mascots. They were they're in a lot of ways, I guess you could say they're our minions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And they are the ones who introduce all of the separate topics in things and, you know, provide
there's animation,
hilarious banter, and yeah. So yeah, because you know us, we can't be like all serious, so we got to work some funny in, and so the podcast is quite the mixture.
Yep. And I'm hoping this is exclusive for right now. I'm hoping around the year mark. So anybody who's been with us for a year, I'm hoping to get like a ghosty goodie bag for anybody who's been with us for like a year, and have like a pin or a plush or something. I will figure this out because I want it for myself and for you guys. I need ghosty
you know what?
pins.
Let's just extend that too. If anyone knows a place that can make, you know, custom like pins and things like that, or stickers, things like that, send us links on Facebook or on here. And let us know, and we'll look into it and see if maybe that'll work for us.
Yeah,
because we're trying to.
Tracy said thank you for and Tracy said thank you for making it affordable within her price range, because she was worried that she wasn't able to afford it. That's something that me and Chris were very conscious of, that we don't want it to be, you know, we want to be paid fairly for the amount of effort that we put in, but we also want it to be accessible for you guys, because we don't want it to be one of these, I don't know, you know, ridiculous price things that you see a price and you're like, oh, I really want to join it, but I can't afford that, because I know that feeling, and it's depressing. I know it is. So we wanted it to be affordable, and we wanted to have like a upfront offer price for the first month, so everyone joining for the first month gets a lower price. And so that was a consideration. So
and considering there are also 2 of us to split it between as well.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And it will be SoundCloud. It's SoundCloud that it will
SoundCloud.
The thing about Society 6 is that they take a lot of the money off the people who do the work. They take a very large percentage of people who do the work. It's very unfair on there. I will say that much, because I checked out Society 6 for that stuff. So. Is that it for announcing? The journey, guys. Oh my god!
I said that they'll be. I said that they'll be downloadable. There'll be unlisted live chats, so that'll be private. Those questionnaires, goodies, monthly cards.
Can you go over the price again, Chris? Because Courtney.
Yeah, absolutely. The special launch deal for the first month is $20 USD, and after that month, so after November, it will be $30.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And everybody who's a paying member and everything gets invited into the group, and the group is hugely interactive. And that's the bit that really excites me, the interactive part. It's super, super exciting. We're super excited about it, guys. That's why we've been a little bit quieter with the Google Hangouts, because we've been doing all this work in the background.
That's actually why my second Hell episode isn't up yet, because I was like, crap, we got to get this podcast. So, yeah. But it's in the works. It's in the works, guys. It's coming soon. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, anything else?
I think that's it for the.
Anything else now?
Well, I'm just going to wish everybody a happy Halloween / Samhain / whatever you celebrate, because we're nearly there. We're very nearly there. So it's nearly a brand new witches year. Thank you to everybody who has supported us, me, Asbjorn, everybody this year. It's been a witches year of change for me. Payments will indeed go through PayPal for the thing. I know Chris has answered in chat, but I will say so out loud.
It's business PayPal, so it also will accept credit card and the like as well. So
cool for school. So just happy Halloween to everybody, and just have an amazing day. Whatever it is you're doing, I hope you eat lots of sweets and honor your ancestors and get in touch with those death energies.
And lots of pumpkin things. Lots of pumpkin things, and lots of pumpkin spice things,
Chris,
and lots of orange and spice,
I wasn't
and lots
kidding.
of pumpkins, and lots of. No, she really wasn't. I'm obsessed. I brought her into my kitchen the other day because I was cleaning dishes, and behind the scenes, backstage.
Behind the scenes.
I was webcam talking to her on my phone, like nestled up in the wall while I'm doing dishes, and back behind me on top of the fridge, she can see like pumpkin spice Cheerios, and then there's like a pumpkin spice tea over here, and I've got like apple cider that I'm sipping, and it's a problem.
With pumpkin spice in it. Yeah.
I turn into a hashtag basic witch every fall. Yeah. I admit it.
I would too, but England's not as good with it. England's like, yeah, we'll give you some pumpkin spice maybe if you're lucky. They've been a bit better with it this year.
You just gotta come here.
I know.
Just come here.
I know.
Come here. I will fill my entire guest room with pumpkin spice things, and you'll open up the door and they'll all fall at you. It'll be good.
And that was the end of Joey Morris. Death by
and that'll be your new
spice.
intro on your videos.
Or just hands waving beneath pumpkin spice products.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Must attend to the child. Thanks very much. Yes. Happy Halloween. Happy Samhain. Happy whatever you celebrate.
Yeah. Have a
happy
beautiful time. Oh.
Yes.
I think that's
pumpkin spice chapstick. I need that in my life.
I think I've actually seen that here. That's one of the things I have seen. The makeup here this year has been killer. The makeup's been really good. Do you
still have your pumpkin spice oils and stuff on sale?
The starry-eyed pumpkin spice, well, I say pumpkin spice. It's called All Hallows, and it's an anointing oil with pumpkin spice, but then it's a mixture of spices and then a vanilla. So it's like a autumnal spice with a hint of vanilla. It's available until Halloween itself, and then it's gone for the year.
You guys,
so
there are certain words in her accent that I love. Autumnal is one of them. Also, for the record, when we were doing the journey, she said meditative. What is it?
Meditative. Meditative.
Yes, meditative. And I say meditative. And I was like, that's magical.
There are certain words in the journey which have got Joey must say this next to them.
Yeah, I'm like, no, you're saying this part. Anyway, to answer people really quick, the paint on my face, the white is indeed bone. It is the Hellcape death paint. The black is not. The black is black lipstick that's like cheap.
Bone is my favorite of the current Hellcapes, by the way. Bone is my favorite.
I love bone. And I said in the beginning too that this is actually a dream that I had. I did not plan this, and then this came to me last night on my face. So I'm like, all right, we'll just do that. But yeah, so Tears of Ash, get it? Joey?
I get it. I know where you're going. I've seen that, Jenny.
Yes. Oh, yeah. But anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for celebrating our ancestors and our new podcast with us, and for celebrating death as well, because it doesn't have to be a sad thing.
Yeah, it
can be, no doubt, but it doesn't have to be.
All the feels, all of them.
All of them.
Okay.
An amalgamation of death. Sorry. Death Priestess out now. I'm just kidding. But we do need to leave because I have a client coming up soon. So
yes, I have to go too.
Switching over into that trance state.
Yeah. So all my love to you guys. Thank you very much for joining us this Samhain weekend. Remember to stay fluxy.
I love your faces.
And we will catch you soon. And I hope some of you will come join us on the podcast. So I'll see you guys. Much love and many blessings.